6 of history's most famous mysteries were cracked open by investigators with nothing but patience and paperwork. One of them wasn't. Tonight we follow the evidence trail case by case, and I'll tell you exactly where it ends. I'm Marlow, and this is Marlow Explains Mysteries. Bring your own magnifying glass. Tonight, 6 legends that made headlines for decades, and the paper trail that either closed each case or left it wide open. One of these files has sat unsolved for over 60 years. Let's start at number 6. Number 6, the Loch Ness Monster. Since 1933, when a hotel manager named Aldi Mackay reported a whale-sized creature rolling in the water near Drumnadrocheat, Scotland, over 1,100 sightings have been logged in the Loch's official register. Investigators followed every trail. Sonar sweeps in 1987's Operation Deep Scan, satellite tracking, and in 2003, a full BBC-funded search using 600 separate sonar beams and satellite tagging that covered nearly the entire loch. They found nothing larger than a few curious catfish. The most famous single piece of evidence, the 1934 surgeon's photograph, was confessed in 1994 by insurance investigator Christian Sperling to be a toy submarine fitted with a sculpted neck, built by his stepfather Marmaduke Wetherell as revenge on a newspaper that had mocked him. Most sightings since have traced back to floating logs, seals, and wind-driven wave patterns called standing waves that can look uncannily like a moving hump from shore. The verdict? A hoax that outlived its hoaxer by 60 years, sustained by genuine optical tricks on a genuinely eerie lake. But here's the detail that keeps this one alive in Scotland's tourism office and in a few stubborn biologists' notebooks. Sonar contacts with no visual confirmation have been recorded at depths past 180 meters, in a loch that supports almost no fish population large enough to explain them. Coincidence, echo, or something the sonar operators can't yet name, the loch has never fully closed its own file.
A toy submarine with a fake neck fooled the entire planet for 60 years? Boss, that's not a monster, that's the greatest prank in tourism history.
Number 5. The Voynich Manuscript. Discovered in 1912 by rare book dealer Wilfrid Voynich in an Italian villa, this 240-page vellum book is filled with an unknown script and illustrations of plants that match nothing in nature, alongside naked figures bathing in green liquid. For over a century, cryptographers, including code breakers from both world wars, tried to crack it. In 2009, radiocarbon dating at the University of Arizona pinned the vellum to between 1404 and 1438, ruling out theories that it was a later forgery by Voynich himself. Then in 2019, University of Bristol researcher Gerard Cheshire published a decoding claiming it was Proto-Romance language describing women's health and herbal remedies, a claim the academic community rejected within weeks, citing a lack of rigorous linguistic proof. The leading theory today, backed by statistical analysis from Montemurro and Zanet in 2013, is that the text follows real word frequency patterns consistent with an actual language rather than gibberish, but no one has matched it to any known tongue, dead or alive. The most boring explanation on the table, it may simply be an elaborate, meaningless hoax designed to sell as a rare ancient text, similar to schemes documented in the medieval manuscript trade. And yet the detail that won't sit still, its letter patterns follow statistical rules real languages follow, rules a random hoaxer in the 1400s had no known way to fake. Number 4. The Roanoke Colony. In 1587, 115 English settlers led by Governor John White established a colony on Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina. White sailed back to England for supplies. When he returned in August 1590, the colony was empty. No bodies, no signs of battle, only the word Croatoan carved into a post. For centuries, this fed theories of massacre or supernatural vanishing. But the evidence trail investigators actually followed points elsewhere. In 1998, Archaeologists from the First Colony Foundation found 16th century English pottery and hardware 45 miles inland near the Chowan River, matching accounts that the settlers relocated to live among the Chawanoke people. Then, in 2020, further digs at Hatteras Island, the historical home of the Croatoan tribe, uncovered English rapier hilts, a signet ring, and gun flints dated to the correct era, mixed directly into Native American living sites. The leading explanation now: the colonists didn't vanish. They integrated, joining allied tribes for survival after supply ships failed to return for 3 years. It's a far less mysterious ending than lost forever, assimilation, not disappearance. The detail that still nags historians: no definitive DNA match or written account has ever confirmed which colonists survived, married in, or died, meaning the softest, most human explanation is also the one we can't fully prove.
So they just moved in with the neighbors? Boss, 300 years of ghost stories for a relocation notice nobody bothered to write down.
Number 3. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. What would make 9 experienced hikers cut their way out of their own tent from the inside in the middle of the night in minus 25-degree cold and walk barefoot into the snow? On February 1st, 1959, in Russia's northern Ural Mountains, a group of Soviet university students on a skiing expedition did exactly that. All 9 were later found dead, some with severe injuries: 1 skull fracture, 2 with major chest trauma, but with no external wounds and their clothes left largely undisturbed nearby. Soviet investigators in 1959 closed the case citing a compelling natural force, but sealed the full file for decades, feeding 50 years of theories: military testing, secret weapons, even claims of a Yeti attack. In 2019, Russian prosecutors reopened the investigation, and in 2021, a team led by Swiss and Russian researchers, including Johann Gaume of EPFL, published a physics-based model in Communications, Earth and Environment showing that a delayed slab avalanche, a rare type that can strike hours after a slope is cut into rather than instantly, matched both the tent's location and the specific pattern of crushing injuries. The verdict: panic-driven flight from a real, if unusual, avalanche. But the detail that still divides researchers: some hikers' clothing tested positive for elevated radioactive contamination in the original 1959 forensic report, a finding the avalanche model doesn't explain at all. Number 2, the Mary Celeste. Here's a question for you. What does it take to make an entire crew abandon a ship that's still perfectly seaworthy? On December 4, 1872, the brigantine Mary Celeste was found drifting unmanned in the Atlantic, 400 miles east of the Azores, by the crew of the Dei Gratia. Her cargo of industrial alcohol was intact, the captain's family belongings were untouched, and a 6-month supply of food and water remained aboard. But the ship's only lifeboat was gone, and the last log entry was 10 days old. No trace of Captain Benjamin Briggs, his family, or his 7 crew was ever found. Salvage investigators at the time suspected foul play, even piracy, but found no evidence of struggle or theft. Valuables were left behind. The leading modern explanation, supported by a 2002 reconstruction by chemist Andrea Sella at University College London, points to the alcohol cargo. 9 of the barrels were found empty on later inspection, suggesting fumes may have built up and triggered a frightening, if harmless, vapor cloud that the crew mistook for an imminent explosion, prompting a panicked evacuation into the lifeboat, which likely capsized or was lost in rough seas. It's a mundane cause for a legendary disappearance. The detail that refuses to close the file, the ship's sextant and marine chronometer, essential for any real navigation, were missing too, meaning whoever left prepared for a longer voyage than a brief scare would explain.
Wait, they left the food, the money, the family photos, but grabbed the navigation gear? That's not panic, boss. That's a packing list.
And number 1, the one nobody sees coming: the WOW signal. On August 15, 1977, astronomer Jerry Amon was reviewing printouts from Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope when he found a signal 70 times stronger than the background noise of deep space, lasting the full 72 seconds the telescope's fixed dish could track it before the sky rotated it out of view. He circled the reading in red pen and wrote "Wow" in the margin, giving the event its name. The signal arrived at almost exactly the frequency of neutral hydrogen, 1420 megahertz, a frequency scientists had specifically proposed in 1959 as the most likely channel for interstellar contact, since it's a universal constant any advanced civilization would know. Investigators checked everything: military transmissions, satellite interference, even a passing comet theory proposed in 2016 by Antonio Paris, which claimed two comets, 266P Christensen and P2008Y2, were in the right position that night. But in 2017, follow-up observations by the Center for Planetary Science found the comet's hydrogen signal was 1,000 times too faint to match the recording, and later analysis showed one comet wasn't even discovered until decades after 1977. No terrestrial source, satellite, or celestial object has ever matched the signal's strength, frequency, and duration. It has never repeated. It has never been explained. And unlike every case before it tonight, the paper trail here doesn't end in an answer. It ends in a single red-circled line on a printout that still, decades later, says nothing except, "Wow." 5 cases, cracked by patient investigators following ordinary evidence. A toy submarine, a lost colony that simply moved in with neighbors, and avalanche physics finally explained. But one file, a single red-circled line from 1977, has outlasted every explanation thrown at it. That's the real lesson. Most mysteries aren't magic. They're just unfinished paperwork. Except when they're not. Which case surprised you most? Tell me in the comments and subscribe for the next file.